Let's take a ride, and you can drive. Oh, I'll take the night shift. I wanna show you the stuff in my life.
Hey guys, it is that fat worthless piece of shit you all know, and I'm named Musix. What's going on? Today I want to talk about the oversaturation of endgame items. And for today's specialty, I'm going to be talking about, as my example for today's video, I want to talk about Arcanes. You know, anything that's like endgame specifically, you know, I put that in quotation marks. I feel like there's just an oversaturation of Arcanes. But before I talk about this, we gotta go back to a time in 2013. So Arcane helmets were first added January 30th, 2013. This was before Arcanes were actually a thing. So I actually have a few of these. I got these a long time ago. This is how Arcanes sit now. This is how Arcanes used to exist. You'd equip it as an alternate helmet, kind of throwing up your fashion frame, and they'd give you small ability adjustments, which I'll show you here in a sec. But yeah, as you can see, I have the Excalibur Arcane Pendragon helmet. These are not cheap. You can actually still find these on Warframe Market. As of hotfix 13.2.3 2014, all helmets with stat modifications were replaced with a statless version of the helmets in the market as a Nightwave offering. This is a new thing. There was 27 different Arcane helmets, so if you want them all, you can find them, but it will cost you a lot of plat. These all have negatives. There's not one of these helmets that is just good. They can be useful, they give your Warframe just a little extra oomph, but now that we're past all that, we've went over the little bit of brief history of Arcanes. I want to talk about the oversaturation of Arcanes in general. Originally, Arcanes were acquired from Warframe raids. Warframe raids are a different topic for a different day, but you could get Arcane Barrier, Arcane Energize, and Arcane Grace from them. That was pretty much it. There was no Arcane Reaper, there was no Melee Crescendo, there wasn't Arcanes for everything like there is now. I'm not saying every Arcane's bad, but we definitely have too many, and I don't even have all of them. I don't go to my way to get all of them because some of them aren't even good. Now where they fucked up, in my opinion, is when they added different tiers of Arcanes. They need to be in the game to serve a purpose, but they made them into lots and junk rewards. They made a bronze tier, a silver tier, a gold tier, and then a prime tier is what I call this because it's white, which understandably so, but there is like a bunch that you just wouldn't really ever use. Honestly, some of them don't even need to exist. Some of them are good, like Arcane Strike, but that could have easily been a gold tier. I just dislike the idea of they have so many different items. This system has been ruined by the simple fact of oversaturation. Not that it's not that it's useful, but the end game of Warframe back in the day was getting Arcanes. Once you got an Arcane, it was a different game. Once you get your Arcanes, Warframe becomes a different game. And the thing I worry about most when it comes to Arcanes slash anything that is considered endgame or really cool like that or really useful, which Arcanes are extremely useful for your Warframes, is I know how the power scaling works from Warframe and all that, but if we keep adding Arcanes that are junk or useless, not only are they going to lose value in the market, which they have significantly since when I started playing the game, but they're also going to lose relevance. They're going to keep adding Warframes that are just better and better, which it makes sense. But if you want to keep these Arcanes relevant, they have to be relevant in the first place. On another note, I want to mention Warframe did make a way to get rid of your useless Arcanes to possibly reconvert them into better Arcanes. The Arcane Dissolution system. Now, in theory, that's a good system, but at the same time, for Arcanes being the kind of item they are, they're meant for later game players, later game in general. I shouldn't need to junk them to get better ones. Obviously, it adds an extra way to get them, which I don't disagree with, but I also don't think it needs to be there in the first place. If it was just the way it was before, where you could only get the good primed Arcanes, which I'm putting that in quotation points because those were the only ones in the game at the point, then it makes the whole system irrelevant in the first place. Basically, the point I'm trying to get across is there doesn't need to be Arcanes for everything. The Arcane should serve a purpose. Like I was mentioning, the Arcane Dissolution system, which I'll show you now, not only makes it so you can get a currency called Phosphor that allows you to buy whatever Arcane you want. There's multiple ways to get this. But you can also dissolve your junk Arcanes to get better Arcanes. But I mean, if a new player gets an Arcane, they finally get the slots, you know, they go about it, they equip Arcane Consequence, an Arcane that'll never ever be used for anything useful. Let's say you equip that, and your first experience, that's your first Arcane, and you're a new player. You're gonna think Arcanes are useless and obsolete. I think there could be a better overall way to go about Arcanes, and that would start with removing a lot of the useless ones. I'm not gonna go over which ones are all useless and bad, because obviously there is some bronze ones, some silver, and some gold that serve a purpose. All of them serve a purpose in their own unique way, but not in the way that you think. There's ones that I'll generally never use. Now, this is an iffy topic. I'm not saying Arcanes are bad as a whole. Arcanes are an integral system to Warframe, but the way how they've turned into basically a slot machine is just not fun. I don't want to bitch about these systems without providing a way to fix it. I have found a unique, fun way to fix this issue. My first thought would be adding another segment to the helmet's charger. If we can switch Warframe abilities, why can't we take our useless Arcanes and put them together? So if I could put, you know, I know this will be like, this could create some major balance issues, don't get me wrong. But I feel like for the bronze tier, and possibly even the silver tier, you should be able to combine some of the Arcanes, and that would make them have a lot more use. Arcane Warmth and Arcane Ice, and then if you could combine Arcane Nullifier on top of that, chances to resist, and if you could combine all the elements to turn it into a prime Arcane, I think that'd be overall a better system. And then what it does is allows you to chance resist pretty much every. Now that would serve not only a better purpose, it might be more useful, and it could make those tankier frames a little bit tanky. Now in doing so, with the oversaturation of Arcanes, there also just isn't enough Arcane slots. I like Old Monk Augmented and Arcane Fury, but I really struggle with my Excalibur build I've showed you guys before to want a Arcane Strike. I really would like that on this build too, but I only have 2 slots. Now I was hoping one day in the future, I've been kind of waiting for them to add a 3 and 4 slot. Obviously that'd be a way to unlock it. I'm assuming they'd do that through the helmet system as well, but because of the oversaturation of Arcanes, I do not have enough room, and it feels very limited with 2. Even if they added a 3rd slot, that would be really ballin'. So just think if I combined all those Arcanes. We did that here in the helmet as a separate system entirely. From the helmet and the Archon shards, it would be, you know, we'll call it Arcane Abominations, because just to fit the helmet theme. And it would turn the Arcanes from being a slot gambling machine into a usable, fun, infinite loop grindable machine. And honestly, who doesn't like Arcanes? So another reason to make your Arcanes better fits nice with me. Now obviously there'd be limitations. I do not know what those limitations are. I'm not a game dev. And I was also thinking as you combine them, the tiers will go up. So from bronze, let's say you combined Arcane Ice and Arcane Warmth, it turned into silver. And then once you combined it again, it turned into gold. And then once you combined it again, it turned into prime. They used to be a specific item reward that you had to do raids for, and now they're just everywhere. There's too many ways to get them. I find it to be exhausting, and I know any new player would as well. Maybe that's a future thing, but I'd like to see it. And I'd like you guys' thoughts and opinions on it as well. Alright, it's been that Fat Worthless Piece. See you guys all in the Lumpy Resix, and I'm out. Peace.